Imagine you are floating above the ocean at night. Below you, somewhere in the dark, there may be more money than a small country's yearly budget. Not in a bank, not in a vault, not behind a billionaire's suspiciously quiet private island. At the bottom of the sea. And the strangest part is that some of the biggest treasures on Earth are not hidden because nobody wants them. They are hidden because everybody wants them. Governments want them. Treasure hunters want them. Museums want them. Descendants want them. Lawyers, somehow, also want them, because lawyers can smell a legal disaster through 600 meters of salt water. You probably imagine a shipwreck as a broken wooden ship lying peacefully in blue water, with gold coins sparkling around it like the ocean is doing product placement. But real shipwreck treasure is messier than that. It is history, tragedy, colonial power, war, storms, greed, technology, and a very expensive argument about who gets to touch wet old metal. So tonight, you are going down. Not literally. That would be inconvenient. You are going into the world of shipwrecks that may still hide billions of dollars, and you are going to find out why the hardest part is not always finding the treasure. Sometimes the hardest part is deciding whether it should be treasure at all. Start with the ship that sounds almost too dramatic to be real, the Spanish galleon San Jose. In 1708, the San Jose was sailing near what is now Colombia. It was part of Spain's treasure system, carrying riches from the Americas during the War of the Spanish Succession. On board were gold, silver, emeralds, and cargo meant to help fund an empire's war. Basically, the ship was a floating treasury with cannons, which is a bold travel choice if your enemies also have cannons. Then, British warships attacked. During the battle, the San Jose exploded and sank. Most of the people on board died with it. The treasure went down too, vanishing into the Caribbean like the ocean had just swallowed a royal bank account. For more than 300 years, the San Jose became a legend. People called it the Holy Grail of shipwrecks. That nickname is not subtle. It is what you call something when regular words like important and valuable are simply too emotionally tired to continue. The wreck was announced as discovered in 2015, but its exact location has been kept secret. That detail matters. When a shipwreck may contain billions of dollars in gold, silver, and emeralds, secrecy is not paranoia. It is basic ocean security. You do not put giant historical jackpot here on a map and hope everyone behaves. But the San Jose is not just a treasure chest. It is also a grave site. It is also evidence of colonial history. It is also a warship. It is also an archaeological time capsule. And it is also, depending on who you ask, property that may belong to Colombia, Spain, indigenous communities connected to the mined wealth, or private salvage claimants. That is the part pirate movies usually skip. In a movie, someone finds the wreck, grabs the gold, smiles at sunset, and the credits roll. In real life, someone finds the wreck, and then the paperwork rises from the deep like a second monster. The San Jose shows you the central problem of underwater treasure. Value is not just money. A coin can be worth a lot because it is gold, but it can also be worth more because of where it was found, what it proves, who made it, who mined it, who transported it, and who died beside it. Take it out carelessly, and you do not just recover treasure, you erase a crime scene written by history. Now move from the Caribbean to one of the most famous missing wrecks in British maritime legend, the Merchant Royal. This ship sank in 1641, somewhere off the southwest coast of England. It was returning from the Spanish Empire's trading world, overloaded with treasure. Reports describe gold, silver, and coins on board, and modern estimates often run into the billions, though exact numbers are always slippery with old shipwrecks. The ocean did not leave an itemized receipt. The Merchant Royal had been leaking before it sank. That is never a comforting detail. A leaking treasure ship is basically a wooden panic attack with sails. Then came bad weather. The ship went down, and unlike the San Jose, the Merchant Royal has never been reliably located. Treasure hunters have searched for it for years. Sometimes people think they have found it. Then experts look closer and say, interesting, but probably not. which must be the most expensive emotional roller coaster possible. Imagine spending years chasing the El Dorado of the seas, only to discover you found a different ancient disaster. Still cool, not the billionaire-level cool you were hoping for. The Merchant Royal is fascinating because it exists in that space between fact and legend. We know the ship sank. We know it carried great wealth, but the exact site is still uncertain. Its story survives because the missing treasure keeps pulling your imagination back toward the water. And that tells you something about humans. You do not need to see treasure to believe in it. Sometimes the idea of hidden treasure is powerful enough. A blank patch of ocean can become famous because people keep filling it with gold in their minds. Then there is Flor de la Mar, a Portuguese ship whose story feels like history trying to write a blockbuster. In 1511, after Portugal captured Malacca, a major trading center in Southeast Asia, the Flor de la Mar was reportedly carrying a huge amount of treasure when it sank during a storm. The ship went down near Sumatra, and the wreck has never been confirmed. Over time, stories of its cargo grew enormous. Gold, jewels, gifts, and wealth from a conquered city. Here is where you have to be careful. Shipwreck legends are not always neat facts. Over centuries, a cargo can grow in the imagination. A valuable load becomes a fortune. A fortune becomes a mountain of jewels. A mountain of jewels becomes probably enough money to buy your landlord's landlord. But even if the wildest claims are exaggerated, the Flor de la Mar still matters because it represents a different kind of treasure, the wealth of empire moving across dangerous seas. Ships like this were not just carrying money. They were carrying the results of conquest, trade, violence, diplomacy, and ambition. When one sank, it did not simply lose cargo. It froze a moment in world history and dropped it into the dark. That is why archaeologists often get nervous when treasure hunters talk only about value. A wreck is not a shopping cart. It is a context. The position of a cannon, the location of ceramics, the way the hull collapsed, the pattern of coins across the seabed, all of that can tell a story. If you scoop out the shiny parts and ignore everything else, you turn a historical archive into a very wet jewelry sale. And yes, the jewelry sale would be impressive, but the loss would be permanent. Now look at a shipwreck that was found and recovered in pieces, the SS Central America. This was not a galleon from the Age of Empire. It was a steamship, and in 1857 it was carrying passengers and California gold rush treasure toward New York. Then it hit a hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas. The ship sank with hundreds of lives lost and a fortune in gold. The loss helped worsen the Panic of 1857, a financial crisis that hit the United States and spread economic fear. That is how connected money already was. A ship sinks in a storm, and suddenly bankers on land begin sweating through their fancy collars. The SS Central America became known as the Ship of Gold. It was located in the late 20th century, and major recoveries brought up coins, bars, and artifacts from deep water. But its story is not just gold found, everyone happy, because once the treasure came up, legal battles followed. Investors, salvors, insurers, courts, the whole modern world climbed aboard a ship that had already sunk more than a century earlier. The ocean had kept the gold quiet. Humans immediately fixed that. The SS Central America teaches a different lesson. Even when you find the wreck, even when technology reaches it, even when you bring treasure back into daylight, the story does not end. It changes from a deep-sea mystery into a courtroom maze with coins. And then there is Nuestra Señora de Atocha. This Spanish galleon sank in 1622 near the Florida Keys during a hurricane. Treasure hunter Mel Fisher and his team searched for years before finding major parts of its cargo in 1985. The Atocha became one of the most famous treasure recoveries in modern history, with silver, gold, emeralds, and artifacts brought up from the sea. For treasure hunters, the Atocha became a dream story. For archaeologists, it also became a warning story, because once valuable artifacts enter markets, they scatter. A coin goes to one collector, a bar goes to another, a religious object sits in a display case. A piece of history becomes many private possessions, each separated from the wreck that gave it meaning. That does not mean every recovery is simple villainy. It means underwater heritage forces you into uncomfortable questions. Who has the right to recover it? Who has the duty to protect it? When does saving an artifact become looting? When does leaving it underwater become neglect? And who gets to decide? You might think the answer is easy. Finders keepers. That answer works on a playground. It does not work well for a war grave, a colonial cargo, a ship from another nation, a wreck in territorial waters, a site claimed by descendants, or a place protected by heritage law. The ocean is not a playground, though it does occasionally act like one by throwing boats around. This is why modern underwater archaeology has changed so much. For centuries, shipwrecks were treated like lost treasure boxes. Now, many experts argue they should be treated as underwater cultural heritage. That means the wreck itself, not just the shiny cargo, has value. The wood matters. The ceramics matter. The ordinary tools matter. Even the boring objects matter, especially the boring objects. A gold coin tells you there was wealth. A broken spoon tells you someone ate dinner. A shoe tells you a person stood there. A repair patch tells you the crew fought to keep the ship alive. History is not only made of crowns and emeralds. Sometimes history is a cracked cup that somehow survived the ocean when the empire did not. And this is where the story becomes stranger than treasure. The ocean is full of money that people may never be allowed to spend. Some wrecks are too deep. Some are too fragile. Some are in disputed waters. Some are protected by law. Some are grave sites. Some are surrounded by political arguments so tangled that even the eels probably avoid them. Technology keeps improving. Autonomous underwater vehicles can scan the seabed. Robots can take high-resolution images. Sonar can reveal shapes hidden in darkness. Researchers can document a wreck without immediately tearing it apart. The modern treasure hunter is no longer just a diver with a dream. Sometimes it is a robot with cameras, sensors, and absolutely no appreciation for pirate hats. But better technology does not solve the biggest question. It only makes the question louder. If you can reach the treasure, should you? The San Jose may contain billions, but Colombia has emphasized heritage and science over simply selling the cargo. The Merchant Royal may still be out there, but finding it would likely trigger a legal and cultural storm. Flor de la Mar may be a legend wrapped around a real disaster, but its story is tied to empire and conquest. The SS Central America shows that even recovered treasure can leave a trail of lawsuits. The Atocha shows that recovery can make history famous, valuable, and scattered all at once. So when you picture billions at the bottom of the sea, do not picture only glitter. Picture silence. Picture a ship cracking under storm waves. Picture sailors shouting in the dark. Picture cargo packed for kings, merchants, investors, empires, and wars. Picture centuries passing while coral, mud, and pressure turn a disaster into a hidden archive. And then picture a modern human staring at the water and thinking, with the spiritual depth of a raccoon near a trash can, but what if I could get the shiny stuff? That is the comedy and tragedy of shipwrecked treasure. It makes people dream, but it also exposes what they value. Is the wreck a payday, a museum, a grave, a national symbol, evidence of exploitation, a scientific site, a story that belongs to everyone, or a pile of coins that happen to take a very dramatic bath? The answer changes depending on who is asking, and maybe that is why these wrecks still fascinate you. They are not just lost fortunes. They are unfinished arguments. They sit in darkness, holding billions in metal and gemstones, but also holding questions that money cannot answer. Who owns the past? Who gets to touch it? Who gets to profit from it? Who gets remembered? Who gets ignored? The ocean does not answer. It just keeps the wrecks cold, quiet, and out of reach. Somewhere below the waves, there may still be a ship packed with gold. But the real treasure is not only what is hidden at the bottom. It is the strange truth that the deeper you go looking for money, the more you find history staring back at you.